So guys, many Nigerians have criticized Tinubu over silence since after the massacre that happened in Kwara State. See what this headline says. It says, genocide, quick to post about Anthony Joshua but never comment on over 160 killed. Netizens slammed Tinubu's silence as Kwara indigents are massacred by jihadists, Islamic jihadists. Tinubu has been silent, no comment. What will even shock you is to know that the governor of the state went to visit Tinubu after the massacre. There is his body language will even tell you that for them it's okay. Now this person here say, watch Tinubu's posture as he positioned as someone who just lost over 200 persons in one state. How can you lose 200 persons, 200 people, and the governor of the state will be the one to visit your office? Can you imagine? Instead of Tinubu to have moved even to go and see the people, Tinubu is there. The governor had to go and pay him a visit. So when you calculate what is happening, even the governor of Kwara State, he was seen recently throwing birthday party for his children in the UK, while there's insecurity in his own homeland. So sometimes you just wonder is it that the Muslims, their own education does not really enter their brain? Because I've get to know that many people who are from the Islamic background, even though educated, their characters are usually questionable. Because tell me how you should be receiving Tinubu and his wife now in Kwara State, at least to commensurate with those who have lost their lives. But guess what? This governor boldly entered the flight. They don't know what to do with their time and money, the subsidy money Tinubu is giving them. Now he is in Abuja to sit down and talk. Talk what? This thing requires action, not talking. What are you talking? Now, this headline here says, U.S. lawmakers say Nigeria is allowing mass killings of Christians as the country slides towards war. That war is coming. The U.S. is issuing warning. Now, this man who has been the one gathering the information about Christian genocide in Nigeria tweeted this, and he said there is no farmer header clash. It is radical Islamic terror and genocide happening in Nigeria. For those who are saying there is no genocide. Now, the Professor Amupitan is being dragged by the Islamic world in Nigeria that he shouldn't be the one to conduct the election. That is what they are trying to do, because he once wrote about, the Christian genocide happening in Nigeria. So guys, a whole lot is happening. Now, this headline here also says, if you support APC Tinubu, you are enemy of Nigeria, supporting insecurity and destruction. Netizens review. Anybody who is supporting the Tinubu's government, you are just supporting it on your own. And you can see this headline here also say, Kwara villagers were killed because they refused the Sharia law. You can imagine, these people said they came to preach to them, and because they did not accept their preaching, they angrily executed them. Another thing that provoked them is that the village chief went to tell the police that these terrorists wrote a letter that they will be coming. That also infuriated the terrorists and made them to start executing. And as they were executing, they actually stopped and went to pray, and later came back, continued the execution. The Kwara people waited for security agents to help. No help was on site. So guys, tell me how else to describe a failed country if not this. Now, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification for more. Thank you.
We cannot continue to lie to ourselves. We cannot continue to hide this pain. We cannot continue to remain silent. Don't tell me Kayama is not safe. Don't tell me Okioda is not safe. Tell me Kwara is not safe. Kwara as a state is not safe at the moment. Our people are our people are getting every day. Our people are getting kidnapped. Bandits are asking for ransom, huge amount of money that some of our people have not even realized in their entire life. Kwara State government. Kwara State government. This is time for governance. This is time for active governance, strong governance, not politics. Secure the lives of our people. Secure the lives of the people of Kwara North. Secure the lives of the people of Kwara South. Secure the lives of the people of Kwara Central. Secure the lives of the people of Kwara State. The people of Kwara State are dying.
Live now to Kwara community in Kaiman local government area, Kwara State, where our right chief correspondent Tokumbo Yetunde joins us to bring us updates. Tokumbo will say thank you very much. Yes, you were on the morning show to give us some updates, and you said that there are people that are just trying to trickle in to probably see what they can salvage. Talk to us. What's the latest on ground right now, and especially with the military formation that should be assembling in the local government?
Aaron, thank you very much. We're still here at Kwara, Kayama local government. I mean, the situation remains pretty the same, but what has changed? I mean, let's start with the community members, some of them who are just by my right side here, sitting around, I mean, still trying to come to real terms with the situation here. Right behind them is one burnt shop, where right there are corpses of a baby and somebody who had was his uncle. They were in that shop, you know, taking refuge when the attack happened, but they were attacked right there, they were burnt right there, and their corpses still remain there. So search for bodies, you know, still continues like we reported much earlier in the day. But as regards the reinforcement of security here, we reported earlier that a few meters away from where we're standing, just down the road as you come into the community, you saw the personnel of the Nigerian military and a few other personnel of the police, I think the mobile police and the regular policemen. We've seen them too stationed there and across, patrolling across the length and breadth of this sleepy town that is in deep mourning, Aaron. But a few minutes ago, just like 20-25 minutes ago, the brigade commander of the Shobi barracks right here in Ilori actually came in here with a few top military personnel to actually give some kind of moral support to the men on ground here. And in our brief interaction with them, it was he told us that they are here to ensure that everything, you know, that every measure that they take as security personnel is going the way planned, to check who comes in and who goes out of this community. Is still around, and we're hoping to get a few more words from him to brief us on what the security situation update is as regards the situation here, Aaron. That is what we can report for now. I have my colleague Oluseyi Da Silva. He's been here. I mean, he actually arrived here a few hours after that horror on this community took place, and he's been crisscrossing the length and breadth of this community and even neighboring communities to see what is going on. Da Silva, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, it's been quite some time for you since Wednesday morning that you came into this community. You know, I mean, we saw some horrible things, you know, too gory to actually describe. So, you know, just a few meters away from where we're standing, where people were gathered together, killed, you know, at a very horrible manner. But their blood still flowing on the roads. I mean, it's becoming so dried up now. But their personal effects, shoes, cabs, and other personal effects all litter the ground there. What other thing do we know as regards how this actually happened, Da Silva?
It is actually a very gory situation. I've tried to remain in mind, not to break down in tears, because
I mean, you can't break down. You've got to report this.
Very, very, very tense here. The whole place is deserted, and those who are here, I can tell you, they are people who are homeless and hopeless. They don't have other places to go.
But those who have places to go have actually moved out, and we even saw some actually as we arrived there earlier today. We saw them actually moving out of here.
There's the pathetic situation of the man that I saw here, Yusuf. The man said all his children have been regathered and he has sent them back to his village, but his 13-year-old daughter is the one keeping him here. Yusuf said he is not going to live here until he sees that daughter. That means he will remain here no matter what happens.
I mean, talking about the agony of a father.
The agony of a father.
I mean, we see
one child.
We see so many other residents who are lamenting, who don't even know the next step to take. I mean, just down behind us there, we had the story of a very elderly woman who is the only one person remaining in the entire building after every other person occupying that building, you know, had succumbed to the horror of this attack. It's very horrible. I mean, we have one of the. I can hear you, Cynthia.
Gory and horrible situation, and it's clear that it's affected those that had the misfortune of witnessing this. But I'd like for, if you can, to talk about anything that has changed in terms of response to what we've seen in Kwara State recently. We've seen numerous attacks, but is anything giving you a sense that this will not happen again? Are you getting a sense from what the reaction that you've got from the security forces that this will be prevented and will not have another situation of condemnations and commiserations?
Cynthia, I understand your point perfectly well, and it's a very huge concern for everybody around here. I can tell you that some of the community members here, excuse me, looking at some of the, of course, they appreciate the fact that the security personnel are on ground here, but some of them will have actually wanted the situation where this horror perpetrated on them will have been prevented, rather than coming for these condolence, commiseration, and all that. It's still very early for us now to say or to suggest that this will not happen again. But if the response we're getting from the higher authorities, from the presidency, the governor of the state, and even the military personnel, the top hierarchy or the topmost hierarchy of the military personnel in the state here, is anything to go by, well, I mean, we may say there are moves, there are measures being taken to ensure that, I mean, this kind of horror will be prevented going further. Because, I mean, our interaction with the community head here shows that this is just like a message to other communities around that are not, listening to the hardline preaching of the sect that is responsible for this. So, I mean, every move that needs to be taken, we have to be, so that we ensure that this does not happen again. So we just hope all the moves that the authorities are making will actually lead to the prevention, rather than paying these condolence visits and these visits of assessing the damage and checking on searching for bodies and lost property. Before we come back to you, Cynthia, there is a community member here actually that has been waiting. I mean, he's got a lot to tell us about what he witnessed and how the entire community has been coping with this. Thank you very much for joining us on this live telecast. What's your name, please?
My name is Yusuf Issa.
Yusuf Issa, you are a resident in this community.
Yes, I'm a resident here. I work as a community health worker.
Okay.
This is my shop beside me.
Okay.
Immediately, this incident happened as early as 5:17 p.m. in the evening. I was coming from my farm when I'm leaving. I just had a gunshot, and the first thing I did, I have my local government DPO's number with me, and it's the first person I call. Then I now call the villager that what is going on. This is the villager has already told me that he has reported to the other security agencies. Maybe the measure will be taken. Before I know, he saw that gunshot. Even in my residence nearby my house, they even pursued somebody to the extent that he wanted to enter my house. But unfortunately, my gate was locked. Instantly, my gates there, they shoot him down there. I took this machine. The machine is with me now, and I can't even identify the dead body.
Now, as we speak, I mean, you as a community people, you're learning to cope with this situation. Where is your family as we speak now?
My family, even is a shadow on my face. I put my entire family to my in-laws residence at New Busa, Niger State, which we didn't even do our culture, but there is no means of living.
And yourself, you don't stay in this community anymore?
I don't stay in the community. I'm staying with my in-law. It's a for us in our own tradition to stay with our in-laws, but there's no alternative. I'm staying with my wife, with my in-laws in the same house, in the same residence at Mibusa. Now, my brother was killed here. He's also a community health worker working at the health facility in charge of Waro Health Community. He was killed. His machine was taken away. He has a Corolla S, which was taken away.
It's among those who have been buried.
Yes, they are among those that are buried. Before we left that, we buried about 127 corpses in my own presence before I took my brother's senior wife with my own wife to Nimbusa.
And we learned that children and women were taken away by the attackers.
Almost. We are brothers, we have missing 13 married women now, excluding children, the undergoing girls, and the married one are 13.
Has there been any word from the
There's no any word. They don't speak to anybody. They don't know anybody.
So you don't know the fate of those people who have been taken away.
They use those weapons to condemn them. We don't have any outcome. We don't hear anything from them.
Thank you very much for telling us your experience in this whole attack. Thank you very much. We'll be following up with you. I mean, that's a community member, telling us his experience. It's that what he said, I mean, mirrors what goes on in the minds of majority of the people who are still remaining here. Some, they come back because, I mean, like the case of the man that my colleague talked about, Malam Isa Pango. I mean, he's only here because his daughter is among those taken away by those abductors, the attackers. And the moment he's able to hear news or even lay his hands on his daughter, he's going to leave this community. I mean, that is the situation here. Aaron and Cynthia.
Well, this is rather sad, and let's try to be futuristic about this. A lot of people have given it a political dimension. What is being done to restore normalcy? Because earlier in the day, you said something about the fact that basic amenities, you spoke about lights, you spoke about communication were being severely impacted. What's being done to ensure that the people are being looked after from the angle of restoring basic amenities back to the community that will open up the community to have people feel safe enough to come back and begin to go on about their daily lives again?
I mean, you see, when you come into a community like this, you find a very resilient people, no doubt about that. I mean, despite the fact that that horror took place here and the community is like a ghost town now, we still see a lot, some commercial activities taking place. Some people who are still very strong-willed enough to say, no, you have done your worst. We are here to show that we are members of this community, and we'll still continue to do we'll still continue to live our lives. I mean, their business activity. I mean, we've seen trucks. People here are predominantly farmers. They grow soybeans and other farm produce like that. I mean, we've seen trucks moving out of here, but some at the same time are still, quite understandably, the psychological effect of such an attack, such a horrible attack on a people like this would be there, and it's there quite fine, but we still have some resilient people who are saying we'll remain here and we'll carry out our business. But as regards what the government is doing to actually provide some sort of support for the people, the Kwara state government, I mean, we listened to, you opened this conversation with the track up of the Kwara state governor, Abdurrahman Abdurazak. I mean, we heard from him and his team about the support that they are giving through the state emergency support agency to actually find out how the state can support the people, can help them go through these with some sort of succor. But we really don't know, because how many people are here? We have not seen any of the officials here, though. We don't know whether they're on their way, whether they are making some other moves that are unknown to us as at this time. But we should think they are actually thinking seriously of how to support these people to go through this horror and come back to make life come back to normal for them. Because, like I reported, you referenced, I reported earlier in the day, public power supply zero. internet connectivity is zero. Even mobile phone connectivity was struggling to actually ensure that we're able to connect with you down there in the studio. So a whole lot needs to be done actually to support these people to make life come back to normalcy for them at this particular time. Aaron.
Indeed, Tokumbo, thank you for that update. I remember when you were talking to De Silva, you mentioned that you had seen like those that like shoes and the likes, in the area. I'm just wondering if you've got any information about any progress that might have been made by security agencies, whether it's any recovered weapons, potential arrests, maybe even escape routes. Anything at all, or is it just completely? Are they just completely silent at the moment?
It's near that. It's near complete silence. At a time like this, the security people don't want to divulge much information. We're trying to actually talk to some of the top officials to find out if there has been any. I mean, we made some attempts earlier in the day, but we met some brick wall. But we know that they're trying their best. If you're talking about escape routes, somewhere here, behind this building here was the route that we learned the attackers actually passed through after a mosque that is not too far away from here was used by their leaders. I mean, at about 2-3 a.m. when the attack had they were done with the attack, the leader of the attackers actually made like what is called a call to prayer in Islam. That was to signal the fact that the evil operation was over, and every of the attacker from everywhere they were, where they were carrying out the operation, they listened to him making that call to prayer, and they knew that signaled the end of the prayer, the end of the operation, and they converged and passed through the bush path here. Behind these buildings that you see here is the path that actually leads right down into the forest. We gather that that's how they escaped with their bikes and the people that they abducted, deep into the forest. So as regards any arrest, we don't have any information yet, and we are still going to be probing further, asking questions of the authorities to find out if there has been any.
I want to say many thanks to you, Tokumbo Yetunji, our senior correspondent there in Kwara State, reporting on the
doctrine in the faith. They were attacked and massacred. It's different from what we used to see, where the subjects were kidnapped for ransom. But this was just a pure massacre, and it's something we truly condemn. But these challenges will be mitigated, inshallah. Well, at the moment, the State Emergency Services is going through enumeration and to look for how to take care and look over the members of the families.
I mean, this they've described as the deadliest attack, almost unimaginable that this occurred just back to back after. I mean, it's been a horrible year so far, Ayo. I mean, the attack of this magnitude is really, really horrifying. May all of their souls rest in peace. And I'd like to take Farouk Perogi's post. I mean, that he released a statement. He wrote, "People familiar with what happened in the village of Woro, Kayama local government area, said that the bloodbath started yesterday evening and continued into the morning hours of today. The trigger for the mass massacre was a decision by the district head of the village, by the name Alhaji Saliu Umar, to inform the authorities of a letter the community received from the terrorists stating that they would be coming to preach in the village at an unspecified date. The village head suspected that the terrorists known to locals as Mahmouda were up to no good. So he did what all law-abiding people would do, report to the security forces. It turned out, however, that the terrorists appeared to have informants among the security forces the village head reported to. The terrorists were incensed that the village head had the temerity to report them to the security forces and decided to go on a mass murdering spree. In retaliation, it is not the first time the Mahmuda terrorists have done such a thing in that community. The photos of slaughtered and mutilated bodies of innocent men, women, and children that my people shared with me have immobilized me and will probably haunt me for days. And I did see some of those visuals. Really, really horrific. You know, women, children, the king's family killed. We had our reporter on ground. We even had our reporter yesterday saying that he was there counting bodies and he was weak. Ayo.
No, this is a very sad day for not just Kwara State, but for the whole of Nigeria.
Yes.
And a number of people have been talking about it earlier today. Just corroborating what Mr. Farouk Perogi said, we had Alhaji Saliu himself come to speak about what happened. He described the fact that they had received letters ahead of time. Number one, this shows the brazenness of the terrorists, to the fact that they felt confident enough to write. It reminds me of the days when robbers would write to a neighborhood in some parts of Lagos and Nigeria and say, "We are coming," and nothing would be done. It also speaks to the inefficiency in this regard of security agents. It means it's almost an open dare to them. However, the military has continued to demonstrate their efforts to tackling insecurity, even though we're asking for more. Now, beyond that was that he went to report the matter as any uprighting citizen of the country and a community leader of his stature should have done. But what he met was a betrayal, a massive betrayal of trust, because someone within the agency, the GSS agency or the agency, the security agents, went to divulge this information to the enemies, who then, becoming upset, just by what Mr. Perogi said.
Yeah.
And so, a number of things to address here. In the same way as we had with the school kidnappings, where someone leaked intelligence to the security operatives, and we said, who ordered the soldiers to withdraw? We don't have an answer to that yet. In the same vein, we're asking, who was the person that received intelligence information, and can we track the number of people in that chain who had information and begin investigation there? Let this not go. If not, we keep wasting our times. These are preventable deaths.
Yes.
These are preventable atrocities, because if something had been done following the letter that was written, perhaps we wouldn't be where we are today. Then beyond that is the fact that we must look at how, response time, because another thing that was asked this morning was, at what point were the soldiers called in? They were called at 5 p.m. They arrived at 3 a.m. That means that they arrived 10 hours. So what are the bottlenecks that were faced? With regards to emergency response, perhaps the number of deaths that were recorded would not have been recorded. It's a sad day for the community. Unfortunately, what this does is that it continues to spread fear amongst people in Kwara State and neighboring environments, and I dare say the whole of Nigeria, because the question is, who's next? If we're not arresting, if we're not prosecuting significantly, then Nigerians cannot go to bed with their two eyes closed that the government has security under control, and that's a sad situation. But the government say that they're on top of this. Let's see what they will do after this.
They're on top of it. This is the same question, the same Kwara State. This is the question a lot of people are asking. I mean, it's not new that these terrorists are operating in Kwara State, especially. Why deploy troops after the fact? What if we have troops? Why don't you just put them on ground? People have died needlessly. Someone's saying 200 people. 200. In one day. May their souls rest in peace. Meanwhile, the United States military has confirmed that American troops have been deployed to Nigeria, marking the first official acknowledgement of U.S. boots on the ground since Washington launched airstrikes on Christmas Day. General Dagvin Anderson, head of U.S. Africa Command, announced on Tuesday that a small team with unique capabilities has been sent to Nigeria following increased security cooperation between both nations. The deployment came after Anderson's meeting with President Tinubu in Rome last year. Nigeria's Defense Minister Christopher Musa confirmed the presence of the U.S. personnel, but provided no further details. Meanwhile, the House Foreign Affairs Africa Subcommittee held a hearing on Wednesday titled Defending Religious Freedom Around the World, with U.S. congressmen calling out Nigeria as a country violating religious freedom. Well, according to former U.S. Ambassador Sam Brownback, Nigeria is at risk of descending into widespread Christian-Muslim violence, with Brownback describing Nigeria as the deadliest place on the planet to be a Christian. And Rufai, this was the conversation about this Kwara attack. They call them jihadists, the people that were there. But I call them terrorists, whether they are jihadists or not. They were out there trying to indoctrinate people in Kwara State, and because they refused to, cower to the religion, they massacred them. That's one of the stories out there.
Let's go back to the definition of a genocide.
Yes.
The definition talks a lot about intent. All right? In this case, in this massacre case, was there intent? Yes. The intent was to spread doctrines. They massacred Christians, they massacred Muslims, Muslims. Mm-hmm. So can we all agree that this is a genocide? Because you see, in also having this conversation, it's how we situate the conversation. A lot of people were trying to run around and deny, there's no Christian genocide. No, there's no. And I've said many times, I can say boldly there's Christian genocide. I can also say there's genocide against Muslims in the country. But can we both agree that there's a genocide going on in Nigeria? Because with these killings, does it pass the test of intent? It does. Secondly, the case about complicity. Till today, the Nigerian state does not have. And please, let me be a bearer of bad news, Oji. Attacks like this will happen again.
God forbid.
No, see, it's not by God saying God forbid.
I always pray.
Oji, see, Oji, it's not for the want of prayer. If it's by prayer, the amount of prayer that goes out in churches every Sunday, Nigeria will not have one smell of insecurity. But it's not by prayer. It's by walking and praying. We pray, but we are not doing the aspect of walking. What is the walking? Intelligence, reconnaissance, holding people accountable. Oji, I can bet you that those that leaked the secret to the terrorist group, those that were complicit, they will never be revealed. We should not even investigate further, Oji. How did the village head call the security boys by 5 o'clock? They didn't come till after 3. And it was when the terrorists finished that they came. Who is protecting who? They said they put booby traps on the road. They call you by 5, reconnaissance. When I was asking Rafiu, the chief press secretary, he was trying to dodge it. You see, in this country too, you will not want to talk against your master or talk against. They said they got the people came. They didn't come until 3 o'clock. Ayo, you raised a very important point as regards the KB girls. That was how they ordered the military to leave there and the attack happened. So who is in charge of all of this? Who are the complicit bad eggs? Hoji, as long as we've not targeted the complicit bad eggs, it's going to happen again because it didn't only happen in Kwara, it happened in Katsina, it happened in other parts. Hoji, it's just that same level of complicity that happened in Kaduna, that terrorists came, picked 177 people. The local government chairman went there and told them, please don't talk about it, don't reveal this. And guess what? It was because the people revealed it. Till today, the local government chairman is still working free. The police was also complicit. The police also tried to cover it. Hoji, in a case where you can't trust the police, trust security architecture, trust the fact that you give intelligence. And that's why when people say, give us intelligence of what is happening, you are so scared you don't know who to talk to. In a case you can't trust all of that, then there's the culture of complicity. Hoji, it will happen constantly again. See, I don't know who said it to, but they cease to see that if an insurrection happens for more than 24 hours in a country, there's an element of complicity. The complicity is so wild in this country that you and I will be here and will report the next attack, which might be a couple of days from now, except we change.
We need to target these terrorists. Now, we are getting reports that at least 4 young Nigerians recruited to fight for Russia in the war with Ukraine were killed on the battlefield, according to investigations by the Daily Nigerian. The 4 Nigerians were all recruited under false pretenses of a security job, which ultimately led to their deaths on the front lines. The report indicated that the young men died at different points between December 2025 and January 2026, with the news of their killings first revealed in a secret WhatsApp group Their journey to Russia began after an informal acceptance of the so-called security job offer by the Nigerian agent identified as Eniola Mohammed. Mohammed reportedly worked with the Russian embassy in Abuja to bring the young men to Russia, where they were promised a monthly salary of 200,000 rubles, which is the equivalent of about 3.6 million naira, among other perks. But as soon as they arrived in Russia, they signed a Russian contract with no English translation and were shipped off for training. Well, CNN's Larry Madowo had covered a similar story about Africans recruited to fight for Russia. Well, here's a snippet.
What is your name? Francis. Aside to get your.
This disturbing video appears to show an African recruit in the Russian army with a landmine strapped to his chest. He is being ordered to storm Ukrainian positions on the front lines.
I did see it. It is so traumatizing. Francis is my son.
Francis is among a growing number of African men fighting for Russia in Ukraine. I've spoken to about a dozen of them from Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria, who say they were forced into the Russian army and onto the front lines with barely any training. How long was the training?
3 weeks.
Many told me they were offered well-paying civilian jobs like drivers or electricians, and the money was good.
They are lying to people. The money that they tell people they pay, that is not true.
Most of the African fighters in Ukraine told me they're desperate to escape, but there's no way out. They feel trapped in a war with countless casualties and even racism from their Russian commanders.
You need to escape or you die. It's only two ways.
This is real. This is what is happening. 4 Nigerians among those dead. Well, the Russian embassy in Abuja has yet to comment publicly on this report, but it is concerning. Last year, Ukraine stated that over 1,400 Africans were fighting in the war for Russia.
Well, you know, this is unfortunate, and it takes us back to the economic conditions in many African countries about the crisis of unemployment. Now, Larry Madowo has brought up the story, and he referenced other African countries. The most celebrated one was the case of South Africa, when about 17 young men were found to be fighting in the Donbass region in the Russia-Ukraine war. And then another story about one of the daughters of former President Jacob Zuma accusing, you know, a sister of having been involved in sending some relatives abroad. And that showed us at that time that, look, these young men are promised jobs in Russia, and under the pretense of, being sent to go and find jobs and gain employment, they then end up being sent to the war front in a war in which they have no stake. And they are given training of not more than 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Some of them have never even handled a rifle. So you find the South African case, there's also the Kenya case, and now this morning, you are seeing Nigerians have also been killed in Russia-Ukraine war. Now, innocent boys who are just looking for jobs, just the same way people are also trafficked abroad.
So guys, you have seen what's happening in Nigeria. Sometimes they say if they explain Nigeria to you till tomorrow, you will never understand. First set of US soldiers in Nigeria, Islamic terrorists, are in trouble. So this person, these are the first set of the United States military in Nigeria. So we just hope that they're having a good time with Nigerian military men, and there's no sabotage on ground, because that's actually what we are afraid of. That's what we fear for on their behalf, because guess what, anything can just happen in this country. So guys, now back to the electronic transmission of results. Citizens have every reason to be outraged by Senate resolution execution. The fundamental issue with the review of the Electoral Act is that Senate retained the INEC 2022 Act section 60 sub 5. The section became infamous infamous for the loophole it provided INEC, causing Nigerians to lose trust, since the law established that it wasn't mandatory for INEC to transmit electoral results in real time. There wasn't much anyone could say. Netizens embraced the opportunity to reform the INEC Act, aiming to address ambiguity and discretionary opportunities for INEC. Yet the Senate handled it with a let sleeping dog lie approach. Obi Ezekwesili advocates for transparency and good governance. So guys, what you get to know is that, see, these politicians are not here to serve the people. You can see what is happening. For those of them who feel, okay, they may not come out, they are already positioning their children. They are carrying their children around. They are putting their children in government. They want their children to retain their position. That means generational wealth. They would keep milking from our national cake forever. Don't forget that people like Tinubu, they are on everlasting pension because they cannot be sacked. Now, let me read out some of these reactions. This person here says, free and fair election starts with the transparent process. Real-time transmission isn't playing with fire. It's strengthening democracy and public confidence. What the Senate has done is not reform. It's deliberate preservation of loopholes that already wrecked public trust in 2023. Retaining the section of the INEC Act is a clear signal, ambiguity, and the future, not the bug. So guys, this is what we are saying. See, Nigeria, these politicians, when somebody steals a phone now, they send the person to jail. But tell me what is different between what Akpabio and the Senate are doing. By choosing to keep section 60, subsection 5 of the INEC Act, the Senate is basically protecting the same loophole that broke our first trust in 2027, instead of actually fixing the system. The only way to enjoy governing a people is when they trust you. And then this other person here is a Nigerian Senate seeing Shah in the dictionary and choosing May like it's a personal threat. And this person say, here is another Nigerian toothless bulldog who sits in his place and expecting unknown Nigerians to bail the cat for him and his fair weather friends once again, after CD and Nedeko put their lives to restore democracy in Nigeria. I will advise Atiku Abubakar to step up. And this other person here said, bottom line, the Senate didn't ban electronic transmission. It just refused to make it compulsory, leaving INEC to decide whether it's workable. Okay, this is really what they want to. So we really need real-time transmission of results, nothing more. There is no reason whatsoever to hold an election. Any election is just validation of imposition already in Nigeria. And this person said, the real-time transmission of election result, what happens to election in the villages? Chairman, okay. And then enter the street and protest. All this lamba, no, they work again. This is capable of causing another mass protest if not handled well. From real-time digital transmission of result back to analog, this is not democracy. These people, they just want it to favor them. You are not representing the citizens. So Akpabio has really fooled himself, at this time now. Nigerians believe that we are just on our own. These people claiming to be representing us, they are not. And the worst part is when they came together as senators, they all approved to this process. But now when it got to the signing, they removed some of the places that, that actually sanctions it. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification for more. Thank you.